All right.
Ordering 100%. Not 50. I found 111.
Oh,
And here you are, right? See you.
I don't know what that was. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to see how to go from just a simple grid of polygons to star rosette pattern, expanded, and then eventually you can expand it to something like this one that I have in the background behind me. But we're going to start out with just a simple polygonal tiling to make sure we get the method down. And then depending on time, we can look at a more complicated one. I just wasn't sure how long it'll take us to go through the simple one, so I didn't want to start with a more complicated one. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to close those. So typically my workflow starts with the Wikipedia page on K uniform tilings. So just this list of K uniform tilings. And typically what I'll do is I'll just kind of scroll through until I find one that I haven't constructed yet and that looks interesting to me. And then I go from there. So what we mean by a K uniform tiling as outlined in this paper that I shared is a tiling of the plane of regular polygons. So polygons where all the sides and the angles are the same. And the K, or the 4 uniform or 3 uniform or 2 uniform, that tells you how many different vertex types there are. So for example, in these 1 uniform tilings, so for instance, this one that we're going to start with, this 4, 6, 12 tiling, there's only one type of vertex, and it's this vertex where you have a dodecagon, a hexagon, and a square all coming together at a single vertex. So any vertex that I were to pick in this pattern has exactly that pattern of a 4, 6, 12 around at that vertex. Same thing for this 3, 4, 6, 4. Any vertex I were to choose in this pattern is going to have the same configuration of polygons around at that vertex. But if I go to say a 2 uniform tiling, so let me like make this one bigger. So this one has a vertex where there's 6 6 triangles that go around. So this is a 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Or there's a vertex where you have 2 triangles, a square, a triangle, and then another square. And so those are the only 2 vertex types in this pattern. And then as you go up to like 3 uniform tilings, 4 uniform tilings, 5 uniform tilings, you just have more different configurations of polygons at a given vertex. Okay. So that's all we mean by K uniform tiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open up this this 1 uniform tiling that's a dodecagon, a hexagon, and a square. And we're going to open up GeoGebra. And I'm going to save this as today's date. What is it? May 3rd. And this is a 1 uniform 4, 6, 12 tiling. And I typically like to construct the largest polygon first and then build the polygons on top of that. So what we're going to be constructing is the minimal triangle first. So if I just look at the center of one of the 12-sided polygons, the center of one of the 6-sided polygons, and the center of one of the 4-sided polygons, that's going to be my minimal triangle. And I could construct that anywhere around the 12-sided polygon. So that's where we'll start. And I'm going to start by constructing a point A at 0, 0.
Sorry, how do I get rid of the grid again?
So right click in your graphics view and select grid.
No grid. I've still got the grid axis. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm typing A equals 0, 0 in parentheses. And hitting enter. And then I'm typing B equals 1, 0 in parentheses and hitting enter. And just some reminders. So I've got my objects sorted by object type, and I'm showing the definition of my algebra descriptions.
And you have your labels turned off.
And right now I have my labels turned off. Yeah. And so that's under options, labeling, no new objects. I'll show some labels eventually, but for now,
wait a second. How do you do the labeling again? Off?
Options, labeling.
I don't have options. Where's the options button?
So which version of GeoGebra are you
in? Web 1?
So in the web version,
I just feel it's more consistent when I use the it just.
So it's going to be a little bit different. So go into your settings, and I have to remember where it is. Okay. So once you go into settings, click on the gear, and then your labeling is no new objects.
Wait, it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up.
So you click on the gear and went to settings.
Yeah, it's just coming up to basic x-axis, y-axis grid.
Yeah, so then click on the gear again. And then you should see labeling.
Okay, yeah.
New objects.
Yeah, thank you. It still doesn't say. Still comes up as A and B.
So if you've already created them, they'll still have the labels.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's just no more objects.
Okay.
Labeled.
Okay.
So once we have those 2 points, we want our regular polygon tool. And we're going to click on the left point and then the right point.
Sorry,
12 vertices.
Sorry, where's the regular polygon? I don't have that one.
So
yes.
Tools,
okay.
Remember you have to click more twice to see all your tools. And then there's regular polygon.
And wait, it comes up regular polygon.
Let me see. I'm trying to, I don't have like default settings set up right now in the web version, so let me get caught up. So I'll construct this both places. Oops.
Wait, what do I input? The regular polygon isn't coming up.
So did you click on A, then B?
How many vertices?
12.
Yeah, thank you.
And so then I'm going to construct minimal triangle at the top. And so I'm going to put a hexagon on this side right here. So not the top, the side just to the right of the top side. So with that same regular polygon tool, I'm going to select this point and then this point, and I want to put in 6 vertices. So I'll do that again on the web. I want regular polygon here, then here, with 6 vertices. So then the next thing we want to do is change the opacity of those shapes. So under settings, I'm going to make sure I'm on my object properties, and I'm going to go to color, and I'm going to change the opacity to 0. So that just makes sure when I click inside those polygons, I'm not selecting them.
How do you do that settings again?
So in this version, if I just highlight them, I should see the little set color pop up, and then I change the opacity to 0.
Mine doesn't, sorry. So I have to go to color.
Yeah, so you can
Okay,
also
yeah, I've
go
done
to
it that other way.
settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it this way also.
Yeah.
All right, so next I'm going to grab my angle, perpendicular bisector tool. So that's under the perpendicular line tool in Classic 5. In the web version, perpendicular bisector should be under constructions, construct perpendicular bisector. And I want to put one in the vertical, so I can either click on A then B or whatever those 2 points are, just to put in a perpendicular bisector here. And then I'm going to click on these 2 points and put one here, and these 2 points to put one there. So I'll show that again with that perpendicular bisector tool. I'm going to put one in here, here, and here. And those 3 lines
How do I do undo?
define my minimal triangle. What's that, Hasina?
Sorry, so I've done those 3 lines, yeah. I've got those 3 lines.
Okay.
They're just a different color.
That's fine. Mine are a different color on the web version also. So I just highlighted them a different color to show that that's our minimal triangle. So we're going to focus our construction inside that triangle.
What is it saved as? What's this?
So I saved it as today's date and one uniform 4612 tiling.
One uniform
4612.
4612 tiling. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to find those 3 intersection points. So underneath my point tool, I'm going to grab my intersect tool, and I want to put in those 3 points. And I also want the 3 points where those 3 lines intersect the edges of my polygon. So here, here, and here.
How do I get the point tool? I can't find it on mine. Why is mine so different?
So
A point. Okay.
yeah, scroll down under points and you want the intersect tool.
Yeah.
And so we're putting in the 3 that are where the lines cross each other, and then the 3 where those lines intersect the edges of the polygons.
It keeps, oh no, it keeps clicking on the line. How do I?
Yeah, so remember you can click on the intersection,
Yeah.
or you can click on one line and then the other line.
Yeah.
So then next we're going to put in some circles. So I want my circle with center tool, and I want a circle whose center is this vertex in the very center of that minimal triangle. And
is it circle? Which one is it? Circle through point?
Circle with center.
Circle.
It's under basic tools at the top. Or
No.
under circles.
So under circle, I've got center. I've got center with circle with center through point.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
Okay, yeah. Oh no. Mine hasn't got the points on mine. Is it so problematic? Why does when I try and create a circle, it has another point? Ah, no, it doesn't. I thought the web version was meant to be a bit more reliable. I've got to where I need to be, but I don't know why it's so different. I had problems with the app last time, so yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go slow.
It's fine, I've gone there.
All right, next I'm going to grab my segment tool. So it's also one of those default tools in the browser version. And I want to put a line segment from each of the vertices of my minimal triangle to the center of that circle. So those 3 line segments. So let me do it again over here. I'm going to put in this one, and this one. Are those okay?
Yeah.
All right. So then where those 3 line segments that we just put in intersect the circle, I want to point. So I'm going to use my intersect tool, and I'm going to put in those 3 points.
How do you do that on the other version?
So I'm going to scroll down under points, grab my intersect tool, and I'm going to click on the 3 vertices.
Which 3 vertices? Sorry, I just missed that.
Where the line segments that we put in intersect the circle. So this one, and this one.
Was it the point tool you did, or the intersect
The
tool?
intersect tool. Always
to
the
get the-
intersect tool.
Okay, to get the point. So I did the point tool and it just put a point in.
Yeah, you don't want the point tool.
Yeah.
You want the intersect tool. And then once we have those 3 points, we're going to put circles in each of those 3 corners of that minimal triangle. So I'm going to put one in here, here, and here. And then I'll do it again over here. Here, here, and here. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've got that.
All right.
Oh no, where did the other circle come from?
So
I don't have that one.
You put in your 3 points.
Yes.
So then you want to put in circles.
I've got the first two, just that last circle in the middle.
So that one's centered here and it goes through this.
Okay, yep, I've done that now. I just missed that one. Thanks.
All right, so then the last structure we're going to put in are some angle bisectors. So if you can imagine filling the rest of this space with circles, like I would have another circle here, I would have another circle here, another circle here, and the whole plane would be filled with this circle packing. So right now we have line segments that go through any point of tangency of 2 circles. And I could even, I'll just put in a couple so we can kind of see that even though I didn't put a circle there before, anywhere this circle in the center of my minimal triangle touches, I have a line segment that goes from the center of that circle to the center of all its adjacent circles. So we don't need those, so I'm going to delete them now. But I just wanted to show them.
Oh no, I've done them all.
Well, if you have them there, it's fine. We just don't need them.
It's fine, I'll undo them.
You got to be careful with undo.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
It doesn't always undo what you think it's going to undo.
Oh no. Yeah, I've already done that now.
Did I put them in this one? Okay. So then we're going to grab our angle bisector tool. Let's see, where is it? It's under construction. So under construct, angle bisector. And I'm going to put in an angle bisector right here.
Is that the intersect angle bisector?
Angle bisector.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to click on this point, then this point, and then this point. And I'm going to do the same thing over here with that angle bisector tool. This point, and then this point, and then this point.
Wait, I've just done that point. Which one is it now?
So this point,
Yeah.
this point, then this point.
Yeah, I've done that one.
So you should only have to click 3 points for your angle bisector.
Okay.
And this line is going to kind of get in the way. So all we really care about is this little bit of a line segment from the center of this circle to where the angle bisector intersects this vertical line. So I'm going to zoom in, and with my intersect tool, I'm going to find that point right there. And I'll do it again over here. I'm going to zoom in, and with my intersect tool, I want this point right here. And then I'm going to put in a line segment from here to here, and I'm going to hide my line, which, how do I do it over here? I go to object properties, show object.
So you, wait a second, I'm a bit lost with that last point.
So I put in a line segment from here.
How did you do that? Line
with the segment tool?
Yeah.
So segment from here to here. And I'm hiding my line. And I like to make these angle bisector segments
How do you hide the
a
line?
dashed line.
Click on it. How do you hide the line?
Oops. Hang on. So highlight your line, go to settings, object settings, and then show object.
Oh, why is it not coming up? Mine, so I've got it, mine comes up with global.
So do you have your line selected?
Yeah.
Are you on object settings?
Okay, yeah. And then what do I do?
You click the show object box.
And then you've changed it to a dash, the other one.
Yes, and I changed this one to a dashed line.
So is that the same then? You just go to settings,
Style.
style, line style. Is it the first dash or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
All right. Then rather than going through all of that to put in the next one, I'm going to use my reflect about line tool, and I'm going to reflect this point over this line.
Reflect about line, reflect object in line.
Yes.
So you select the line and then what?
So I'm not reflecting the line, I'm reflecting a point. I'm reflecting this point over this line.
Yeah.
And then I'm putting in a segment.
Yeah, why not just reflect that?
Because then that would duplicate this point. And we would have 2 points at that same point there, and we don't want that. Yeah, that's one of the little quirks that are kind of frustrating about GeoGebra, is like when you duplicate anything that has endpoints or vertices, all of the points get duplicated as well. And GeoGebra is not happy when you have multiple points on top of each other like that. All right, so I've got these two in. We don't have to use the angle bisector to get the angle bisectors inside the hexagon. So to get this angle bisector, all I'm going to do is construct this line here and this line here.
Is that just the line tool?
That's just the line tool.
And how do you do it on the other version?
So I'm grabbing my line tool
Yeah.
and I'm clicking this point and then this point and
Mm-hmm.
this point and then this point. Oh, I didn't put in my, let me do my, other line segment over here. All right, so just like before with this first angle bisector that we put in, when it extends across, that kind of gets in the way. So I'm going to grab my intersect tool and I want to find these 2 points. And I'm going to hide those 2 lines that I just constructed.
Where's the intersect tool again? I've lost it. Why is it?
It's under points.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. And then what?
So these 2 points right here.
I can't really see them very well.
So zoom in.
Yeah. Right, you got a third point at the bottom. I don't have that one. I've got to add that one.
So these are the only 2 points that I just put in. Right here.
I was missing another point then.
So then I'm going to go ahead and hide those 2 lines.
Sorry, which 2 lines?
The 2 angle bisectors that we put in. So the line here and the line here.
Mm. And you just unselect show object. Wait, mine doesn't look like yours. What have I just done?
I don't know, I just clicked undo trying to.
I've hidden a line, but I don't know if I've hidden the correct line.
Here, let me do it over here. So the 2 lines that I want to hide are this line and this line.
Sorry, which line and which line?
The 2 that are highlighted.
Those 2 points you just put in weren't on the
Yeah.
circle. I thought you were going to put them on the circle.
No, they're not on the circle. They're where the lines intersect.
Oh.
I think I've got an extra line somewhere. So I've got an extra line where that pink line is. I've got an extra line to the left that goes through the circle. Oh no. I think mine is completely wrong then.
So do you have this line?
No, I have one that is between the 2, where the middle circle is,
Mm-hmm.
the top point,
Like
where that
here?
middle, yeah, there. Then to the right of that, I've got an additional line that goes through the center of the circle and to the bottom.
Try just deleting it. See what
But it
happens.
goes through the very. Then I. Oh dear, it just looks completely wrong. I don't know what's. It looks complete. I don't know what's wrong. I think I'm gonna have to abandon the whole thing. It's got rid of my. Oh dear, it's gone completely wrong. I have like all these additional lines, and I don't know why I have these additional lines that basically.
Well, if you have extra lines, it's not the end of the world. Just focus on the ones that we're working with.
Yeah, I just think I don't have those either.
So did you put in the 2 magenta lines?
Well, I thought I did, but now I've lost all the diagonal ones as well. So if I get rid of that other line that goes through the middle point, then I lose lose the dotted lines.
Okay, so that was probably this line that we used to
No,
define.
no, it wasn't. It's in the middle. It's like too much more to the left.
Oh, I don't know. These are the only lines that I have constructed.
Mm.
And I've hidden this one.
No, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to abandon it. I don't know what's happened. Just gone wrong. Because now I don't have the dotted lines and I don't have the circle. I think I'm just gonna have to rewatch it. It's not worked out.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
How is everybody else doing?
Good.
Okay, so we've got these 2 points. We've got these lines. I want to hide these 2 lines. And I want to put in line segments to those 2 points. And I want to make those dashed as well. And I'll go ahead and do it in the web-based version just to have a record. So I already hid my lines. I'm going to put in those 2 segments. Oops. And then now all we're missing are angle bisectors here. So if I didn't put in this little circle, I could do an octagon in this square, but I like having a little 4-fold rosette in this square. So I need angle bisectors here and here. So I'm going to grab my angle bisector tool. And put in between those 3 vertices. And then just like we were doing before, I want to grab where that intersects. So I'll highlight that and make it red. And I want where that intersects. And I'm going to replace that angle bisector with a line segment. So I'm going to put in the line segment. And hide the line. So I'll do it again over here. Angle bisector through those 3 points. Intersect tool. Line segment tool. Hide the object and make that dashed. And I'm going to put in the other one by reflecting that point. So I want to reflect this point over this line segment. And I'm going to put in a line segment and make it dashed. So I'll do it again over here. I don't need the angle bisector tool. I need reflect about line, line segment, and make it dashed. All right. So we basically have all of our underlying structure now. And so all we have to do is put in our pattern lines. And we want our pattern lines to be able to fit any angle we want them to. We want them to animate. So we're going to define our pattern lines based on an angle slider. So I'm going to come over here and save, save my work. It's a good place to save. And we're going to grab our slider, and I want angle slider, and I want my minimum to be 0, my maximum to be 90 degrees, and I'm going to do my increment 0.5 degrees. Is that okay? And so remember, the slider isn't doing anything right now except holding a variable value. So when I move it, nothing happens. So what I want to do is rename a few points. So this point right here, where my center circle, my in circle, intersects this larger circle, I want to rename that point, point P. And this point at the center of that, it's R, but I'm going to rename it point O. So let me repeat those steps over here in the browser. Let's see, where is slider? I think it's under measure. Yeah. So I'm going to put in a slider. It's an angle, 0 to 90, incremented 0.5. I'm going to rename this point P. And I'm going to rename this point O. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate point O by alpha about point P. And so I'm going to type that into my algebra input as rotate I hate this version of GeoGebra. Rotate point O, and then I can click Alt A for alpha about point P. It's just not friendly when you're typing stuff in the input at all. It's kind of frustrating. And over here, rotate O by alpha about P. You can also get that alpha symbol over here. If you click on the little alpha symbol at the right of your input bar, there's an alpha. And so now when I move my slider, I get this point O prime that goes from being 0 degrees away to 90 degrees away. So it's just rotating about point P. And so I'm going to grab my line tool and I'm going to put in point P O prime. And that's my first pattern line. So I'm going to make it a different color and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. And then let me do it over here. I'm going to put in point O prime P and I'll make it green over here and a little bit thicker. So now I have this line that rotates. And we're going to get the rest of our pattern by reflecting that line over these lines that we have constructed. So I'm going to start by grabbing my intersect tool. And these next two line, segment and line, that line, the blue line intersects away from point P, I'm going to put in 2 points. So I put in these 2 points right here. And I'm not going to keep them red, but let me put them in over here. Not point, intersect. So again, depending on what your slider is set on, those points will be at different spots. So I usually keep my slider somewhere around 30 degrees is kind of a good sweet spot for doing your construction. So then we almost have enough information to put in our kite and our petal for our large 12-fold rosette. Under transform, I'm going to grab my reflect about line tool and I want to reflect that green line 2 times. So I'm going to reflect it first over line OP, and then I want to reflect it over this line next to it. So I'll show that again. So first I'm reflecting the blue line over OP, and then I'm reflecting that original blue line over one of my minimal triangle lines. And now I'm going to have all the information that I need to put in my kite. So I grab these 2 intersections and my polygon tool. and that gives me my first quadrilateral, this kite. So let me do it over here. I'm going to grab my intersect tool, put in those 2 points, grab my polygon tool, and I've got my first kite. Again, it's always kind of nice to move your slider to see how that changes as the angle changes. Also kind of helps you see if you did anything wrong or selected a wrong point or something like that. All right, so we have the right half of our petal. We need to reflect these 2 points over this central vertical to get the left half of our petal. So under transform, I'm going to grab reflect about line. I'm going to reflect that point over that central vertical and that point over that central vertical. And then I'm going to grab my polygon tool and I'm going to put in that hexagon. So you can see it changes from being a divergent petal at 15 degrees, it's parallel, and then it's a convergent petal until it's a kite, and then it's concave and not really a petal anymore at all. So I used my reflect about line tool. And my polygon tool. And put in that petal. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, next let's work on our petal for our hexagon. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. So I could use code to put the line in through this point, or we can reflect. So I'm going to go ahead and reflect this line over this angle bisector, which puts it here. So I'm reflecting this blue line over this angle bisector to get this line. And then I want to reflect that line over this line segment between the 12 gon and the 6 gon to get this. Now, notice if I'm at exactly 22.5, these 2 blue lines intersect along that angle bisector. But if I move my slider, they don't. So I want to be careful about where these things are intersecting. So I'm going to adjust my slider to about 34 degrees so that things aren't falsely looking like they intersect. And I'm going to go ahead and hide this line so that it's not in my way. So this line I want to hide. And I could go ahead and hide this line too. And I could actually go ahead and hide this one. So I'm just going to leave these 2. And then where this line, the last line I put in, intersects that angle bisector, I want to intersect.
Sarah, could you, that last line you just spoke of, can you tell me again where you arrived at it?
Yeah, so I'll do it over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind.
No, that's okay. So I'm reflecting this line first over this angle bisector. And then that line I'm reflecting over the line segment between polygons.
Oh.
Did you get it?
Yep.
Cool. And then because there's a lot going on over here, I want to hide some lines. So I'm going to hide this line first. And then I'm going to hide this line. And then I'm going to hide this line. And so now I just have these two lines. And then with my intersect tool, I want where this green line intersects that angle bisector. Then I want to reflect that green line over that angle bisector. Is that okay?
Yep.
And then I want to reflect the last line that I got over this line segment connecting these two circles. And I want to find intersect. Where's my intersect tool? There we go. Where that intersects. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm reflecting this line over the angle bisector. I'm reflecting that line over this line segment. And then I'm finding the intersection of those two lines. Then now we have half of our hexagonal petal. And so I just want to reflect these 2 points over this line of our minimal triangle. So I'm going to reflect this point over this line and this point over this line. And then we can put in that polygon. I'll show that again. Grab my reflective outline tool. I want to reflect this point and this point. And then I'm going to put in this polygon. And now we can hide those 3 lines because we're done with them. So these 3 green lines that are adjacent to that petal, I'm going to hide. Or in this case, 3 blue lines adjacent to that petal, I'm going to hide. And now we just need our petal that's going to go around for our little 4-fold rosette. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did over near this vertex. So this last blue line that I have remaining, I want to reflect over this angle bisector first. so that now I have a line going through this top vertex of that petal. And then I want to reflect that line over the edge of the 12-sided polygon until I have a line going here. I could have also just used my line tool and connected. That may have actually been simpler, is to use my line tool and put in a line through those two vertices. I don't know why I didn't think to do that, but it's fine. So I'm going to hide this line because I don't need it now. And I'm going to hide this line. And the only one I want to keep is this one. So I'm going to do it a little bit simpler over here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this line. And I'm just going to put in a line through those two vertices. I don't know if that's the same green or not, but it doesn't matter. And then we want the point where that intersects the angle bisector. So intersect tool, that's the point I want. I want to reflect that line over that angle bisector. Notice when I do that, right, the resulting line goes through that point of tangency. And then I want to reflect that line over this line segment that connects these two circle centers. And with my intersect tool, I want this point where that line intersects the vertical. So I'm going to do that again over here. I want the point where this line intersects the angle bisector. I'm going to reflect this line over the angle bisector, and then I'm going to reflect that line over this line segment that connects those two circles. With my intersect tool, I want the point where that line intersects that vertical. So we have half of our petal. We need to reflect these 2 points over that vertical to get the other half. So with my reflective outline tool, I want to reflect first that point, and then that point. And then with my polygon tool, I'm going to put in the polygon. So let me do it again over here. Reflect about line, this point first, then this one, polygon, there. All right, so then I want to show the labels of these 2 points, so the centers of those 2 circles. Oops. Let me just delete that. Make sure I have the right tool selected. There we go. Show label, show label. So they have different names in my different versions. It doesn't matter what their names are, just so long as I can see them. And if your points have a subscript, I would rename your points just so it's easier to type them in. because it's annoying having to write S underscore open curly bracket 1 close curly bracket whatever to like just name a point. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to do our sequences to expand the pattern. So this is a good place to save. And I want to show also the labels of the polygons themselves so I can see their names. So this is poly 4, poly 5, poly 3, and Q1. How do I do that over here? Let's find out. Show label. All right, and then I'm going to type sequence, rotate, open curly brackets, Q1, poly 3, close curly brackets, because those are the first thing that I want to rotate. And I want to rotate those by pi times I over 6. So that's a 12th of 2 pi, so pi I over 6, about 0.0, where I varies from 0 to 11. And I'm going to copy and paste that into the chat. If your polygons have different names, obviously change the names to your polygon names, or if your point is not O, if it's something else, change the name of your point O. Let me do it over here. So I want to sequence, rotate, come on, rotate, go away, I don't want help. Sequence, rotate, poly 3, Q1, by pi I over 6, mouse over, about O, where I varies from 0 to 11. And hopefully that worked for you.
I get a syntax error in what you pasted.
Are all your things named the
Yep.
same?
Yep. Did you hit enter?
Yeah, you hit enter.
You didn't get an error when you hit enter on the other.
Oh.
See.
What did I do? Am I missing a parentheses somewhere?
Yeah,
Yes,
so.
I from 0 to 11. Sorry. I think I said it out loud and then I didn't type it. So my apologies there. So this should look like this sequence. It's comma I, comma 0, comma 11. Or you could do 1 to 12, would give you the same thing. And now we also want similar sequences for poly 4 about point Q and poly 5 about point S. If yours have different names, you can either rename them or change the name in the code. So I want sequence, rotate, and I want poly4 in curly brackets. Even though it's just one object, I like to put it in curly brackets so that the definition stays rotating that object.
Yeah.
If I rotate a polygon, a single polygon without putting it in curly brackets, the definition changes to this like sequence of rotations of points and then creates polygons from those points, and it's, I don't know, it looks really messy. Did you get it, Olev? I'm assuming that's what congratulations means. All right, so I'm going to rotate poly4 by pi times I over 3 this time, about point Q, where I varies from 0 to 5. And let me do it over here. This time it's point R. So I want a sequence. Rotations. Of poly4. Please stop prompting me for help. Pi I over 3 about R, where I varies from 0 to 5. And then we've got to do our poly5 about point S, and that's going to be an angle of pi over 2. So I want a sequence, rotate poly5 by pi I over 2 about point S, where I varies from 0 to 3. And I will put that in the chat and then struggle to do the same thing over here. Sequence. If there was a way to turn that little helper prompt thing off, I would, but I don't think you can. Sequence rotate. Thank you. Come on. Poly5. Pi I over 2 about S, where I varies from 0 to 3. Okay, so we've got our 3 rosettes, and then from here it's just a question of expanding it. So let's say, for example, I want to rotate these 2 rosettes around this larger rosette. Well, those are M3 and M2. So I can create a sequence of rotations of those 2 sequences about point O. So I'm going to do sequence, rotate M2 and M3 by pi I over 3 about O, where I varies from 0 to 5. And put that in the chat. And then I will do it over here. me see. So those are M2 and M3 and 0.0 still. So I'm going to do sequence, rotate, by pi I over 3 about O, where I varies from 0 to 5. And we can go ahead and hide these other lines. And at this point, we can also hide our points. Let's see, I forget where. Construction order, object type. So I'm going to select all my lines and hide them. I'm going to hide my poly 3, my poly 4, and poly 5. I'm going to hide M2 and M3, my lists. I'm going to hide, oh, I don't have auxiliary objects showing over here. Let's see. Algebra, show auxiliary objects. Sorry. That's something you always have to make sure you have selected. Otherwise, the objects don't hide. So I can show you how to do that over here. So it's under, so this is show and hide your auxiliary objects. You can also right click and show and hide your auxiliary objects. So I'm gonna, oops, hide my lines, hide M2 and M3, hide my points, hide my polygons and my quadrilaterals, hide my segments, hide all my hexagons, hide my conics, and then all I have is my pattern and my slider, and I can turn the animation on and we get our cool little animated pattern. Or you can move your slider too, manually. So let me finish hiding stuff over here. So hide my polygons, my quadrilateral, hide my segments, hide my conics. And all I've got is my slider and my pattern. So if you wanted to expand beyond this, you would want to keep those 3 lines that we put in for our defining our minimal triangle, and then you could start reflecting those lists over those lines. So I could, for instance, take these 2 things, reflect over that line, and then make a list of those lists. I'm just going to leave it like this for now. But you can expand this thing like as far as you want. How did we do?
Very nice.
So then from here, we can export it. I usually export as a PDF. Well, so usually what I'll do is I will change my color to black and make the opacity 0, so that it's all uniform, and make sure also that my style is the same for all the lists. And I put it on an angle that I like. I really like 30 degrees because it gives me regular hexagons. But maybe you like 15 degrees because it gives you a parallel rosette in your 12 sided polygon. Or maybe you like 22.5 because it's a happy medium between the two. So that's sort of where you get to put your own little touch on it. And then I'll hide the angle and export graphics view as a PDF, and you can change the size, 1 unit to 1 centimeter. You can see your total size. It's sort of up to you how you scale it. So then you could take it into Photoshop, or you could take it into Cricut Design Space or Illustrator or any number of places to do coloring or cut it out or whatever you want to do with it. Questions? Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, I've been watching the whole time. Well, I keep forgetting what time zone I'm in, so I came late. But I love hanging out. Sorry that I'm lurking, but it's a lot of fun, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I might make a video that's just me walking through it, and post that on Patreon. In addition to the recording, it might be easier to follow. I don't know.
Well, I like that you're showing these two different versions of
GeoGebra.
yeah, of GeoGebra, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I think it's also really good because if you kind of like have a little, if you're in your own thought for a nanosecond and you miss something, it's going to come up again. So it's like, it's very easy to follow doing it that way. It feels like it might be a little tedious for you, but it's good for me.
Okay. Cool. Just kind of showing everything twice.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And yeah, you're treating that very first pattern line exactly like you said. It's like a laser bouncing through mirrors. That is exactly what's happening. Is all those little radii and angle bisectors are just little mirrors, and every pattern line is just a reflection of that first one, which I think is really cool. I don't know. That's one of my favorite parts about these star rosette patterns, is that you really just need that one line and it just bounces around and gives you the rest of the pattern.
Very cool stuff. Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome. I guess I'm going to stop the recording and